Welcome to Jill Pearson Profiles. I'm your host, Jill Pearson. I'm so pleased to welcome as our guest today the newly appointed District Attorney of Middlesex County, Marian Ryan. She was appointed by Governor Patrick on April 23, 2013, to fill out the remaining term of the previous DA, Jerry Leone, through 2014. Ms. Ryan was general counsel at the DA's office at the time and was chief of their elder and disabled unit. Ms. Ryan has spearheaded the efforts of the DA's office in all of its community initiatives and public and private partnerships, such as the Workplace Safety Program. She's also an adjunct professor of criminal law and constitutional law at LaSalle College. She's written many articles, and she has 2 children with her husband, who is an economist. So, Marian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on being appointed the district attorney of this enormous county.
Thank you.
And you have dedicated your entire career to the Middlesex DA's office, and you know everything that office does inside and out. And I think you were absolutely the perfect person to be appointed.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
So tell the citizens of Middlesex County what you want them to know about you.
Well, I think it is, first of all, that I'm very humbled by just the responsibility the governor has given me, and also just how happy I am to be doing this job. We have a wonderful office, a wonderful staff. We have really been the national leader in a number of areas of prosecution, and I'm looking forward to building on that legacy.
Well, that's great. And how long were you have you been in the office?
34 years.
That's a long time.
I started very young.
And you've seen a lot of different DAs go by.
5.
Yes. And you've prosecuted some very high-profile cases yourself.
I have.
Are there any that you could mention?
Well, just this week we were fortunate enough to resolve a case which got a lot of attention in the local media. It was the robbery and shooting of a police officer during the execution of the robbery at Musto's Jeweler in Woburn.
Yes.
4 defendants pled guilty earlier this week, received substantial sentences, and that was a good resolution to that case, in which the officer sustained some devastating injuries. Any number of people were put at risk, given the brazen nature of the robbery in the middle of the day in a busy intersection, the gunfights that occurred at 2 separate locations.
I remember that incident. That was very frightening. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That sounds like a well-wrapped-up case.
Yes, it was. It was a good result.
And when you were chief of the Elder and Disabled Unit, tell us what your concerns were then and your experiences.
I had a number of different concerns. One was that there are, unfortunately, as anyone knows who has elderly parents or family members, lots of situations that never quite get to the nature of being a crime, but in which people are really being taken advantage of. And it's very difficult to navigate the system to get the services that you need. The second is those awful cases where the abuse actually takes place, whether it be financial, sexual, or physical. And very often the elders' reluctance to seek help, in the case of disabled clients or individuals who become victims, sometimes their physical inability to seek help for themselves. And just added to all the difficulties of prosecution, those enormous hurdles that victims in either of those categories face.
And I know that you've done a lot of work in the community in terms of training people to help prevent crime.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about those initiatives?
Sure. We have lots of crime to prosecute, and that's our core mission. But the best result for us is never having that crime occur. So everyone in our office really joins in that outreach to prevent crime, whether it be in our partnerships with the local schools, to help protect children, our partnerships through the Elder and Disabled Unit with Elder Services, the Disabled Protection Commission, Persons Protection Commission, to reach out and get education to the staffs of facilities, to patients and clients themselves as to what their rights are, when they need to report something, as well as some of the broader task force and things that we have. We have hospital task forces where we try to get information and education out to people who may just be coming into the hospital for some other need, who will then see information that either affects them or they share with somebody else. And finally, we have a very large initiative that addresses concerns in the workplace. So we do a lot of work to make sure that the crime doesn't occur.
Well, when you go into a hospital, sometimes you'll see a sign that says, "Are you afraid of someone that you love?" Is that something that the DA's office puts
We
in
don't
there,
do
or
that specific one, but we sponsor a lot of that kind of material.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, information going out to pediatricians about not leaving your child in the car in the summer, making sure that your windows are safe so your children don't fly out the window, as the campaign is called. Swimming, we do a lot. Really began a big initiative because we had so many deaths of small children, accidental deaths in either the typical pool or ocean kind of thing, but also even decorative things like koi ponds and things like that.
Really?
So we've really tried to get the word out in places where people with children might be and see that and think twice about their safety measures.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's something new. Since I left the DA's office many years ago, to have that much involvement in the community to try and prevent accidents and crimes.
Right. Years ago, we spent a lot of time just really being driven by what came to the door. But now we've really had that opportunity to kind of look ahead and see, for instance, we see repeated deaths of children in those kind of circumstances. You don't want there to be another one, so you're trying to do a prevention effort. And the same is true, every year. As soon as the weather gets warm, people open their windows, children fall out of the windows. Kids get left in hot cars, while people think they're doing a short errand, and the child, either suffers some injury or dies as a result of being in that car.
And those heartbreaking cases happen every summer.
Every single year, yeah.
And so you feel like when you see it on the news, you feel like saying, why didn't somebody tell all those parents,
Right.
be careful, don't ever do that?
Right. The same is true with the safe sleep issues. We have a number of terrible child fatalities that occur because a child is put to bed in a not safe situation. They're either sleeping with an adult, they're sleeping in a bed that looks like all of the commercials because it's filled with lots of pillows and toys, and children suffocate in those circumstances. So we have a lot of brochures, a lot of information. People can go on our website and see all of those things about what's really a safe and appropriate setting for children to sleep in.
And that, you're speaking of children of what ages?
Really, children under 2. That end up in a crib that's not safe for one reason or another. They're sharing a bed with an adult in a situation that's not safe. They're sleeping on other unsafe surfaces. Children roll off beds, things like that.
I see. And how do you get that information to the parents?
Well, as I said, we have it on our website. We have brochures that we really, last summer, made a very concerted effort to get everywhere. We put them out at the public pools. We put them in pediatricians' offices. We put them in the hospitals. Anywhere we can think of that people with kids may be, and we'll take a look.
Okay.
The hospitals distribute them for us in those bags that you take home with your new baby, that sort of information. So we're just hoping people look, or a grandmother sees it and brings it home and gives it to the parent to take a look at. We really just flood the county with them in the hopes that the information will get around.
That's really a great thing to do. So I understand that you also have participated in training hairdressers.
Yes.
Can you tell us about
Yes,
that?
this is one of my favorite programs. We have built on a program that started in Chicago. It's called the Cut It Out program. And it springs from the fact that, as anybody who spends a lot of time in a hair salon or has spent a lot of time in a hair salon knows, very often, and I use women, but it is really victims of either gender, people will confide things in their hairdresser that they wouldn't tell anyone else. Or in the alternative, a hairdresser or a salon professional may notice signs of abuse that someone else might not see. For instance, hair being torn out underneath. Or in moving somebody from a chair to a sink, you might notice that they really have a lot of injuries. And they are injuries that might be to their back or their shoulders, which when the person's dressed, you're not going to see. So what we do is go out and speak to cosmetology students to alert them about what the signs are and also what they can do when they see that kind of situation. We don't expect them to become professionals. We don't expect them to get involved. In fact, we counsel them not to do that. You need to be safe yourself. But if somebody confides in them, or if they see enough signs that they might feel comfortable saying to a client, "Are you okay? I'm worried about you. Is everything fine?" That they have the knowledge of what's out there. Many people suffer needlessly because they don't know there are services available. So when we go out to do these trainings, we do it usually with a local spattered women's shelter. We do it with the police departments, so that now the cosmetology students or salon professionals have information about, so if somebody tells them something, they can say, are you aware that one of these shelters is available? Or I have some phone numbers for you. I can help you access these things. So that's been great. We also do the program at the technical high schools in the county that have a cosmetology program. We do a wonderful day, really a day of beauty, where shelter residents come out. We educate the students in the morning. The residents of the shelter who come out to the school spend the day having their hair done, their nails done, getting new outfits. People in our office and other places donate a lot of clothing. People can shop through that. And then they usually have a very nice lunch that's prepared by the culinary students at the school. It's amazing.
Great.
I love it. It's very fun. And the students have been amazing. As young as some of the students are in the technical schools, they really understand what they're doing. They are wonderful about treating everybody with a great deal of respect and dignity and just absorbing the information. I mean, the unfortunate reality is, as young as some of the high school students are, they know someone, or they themselves have been involved in an abusive relationship. So they take it very much to heart.
That's really wonderful.
It's a great, great program.
And a lot of the information about these programs is on your website?
On the website, yeah. It's a great website. It's very user-friendly, and you can access all of the different programs. There is also on there a test. It will take you to our child advocacy site. There's a test that people can take about mandated reporting, just to see if they're a mandated reporter, be sure they refresh themselves. Facilities sometimes use it as a training tool for people who are mandated reporters.
And that would be like doctors, social workers.
Right. Daycare center providers, anybody who's working with children.
Okay. That they are mandated by law that they have to report signs of abuse.
When they have a reasonable basis for believing there's been abuse or neglect.
The law requires them to report it to the DA's office or the police?
They are required to report it to the Department of Children and Families.
Oh, I see.
And then the Department of Children and Families does an investigation. If they substantiate, they report to the district attorney's office, or they can consult with us at any point in that investigation.
Okay. Now, you have a very big office. How many people work for you?
258 employees in our office. We're a very large county. It's 1/4 of the state. We go north to New Hampshire, west to Air, and all of the really big cities around Boston and Suffolk County.
So there's a lot going on in Middlesex County
We
at all
have a very
times.
busy county.
Yes. And how many district courts then do you have?
11 district courts and 2 superior courts.
And the superior courts, one of them moved from Cambridge
Yes,
to Woburn.
to Woburn, and the other's in Lowell.
The other is in Lowell. I did jury duty in the Lowell once.
It's a beautiful courthouse. The courthouse where Daniel Webster argued a lot of cases.
I didn't realize that when I was
Lovely
in there.
courthouse.
It is quite amazing and historical. So are there things that you want to change? Are there new things you want to do now that you're the DA? Or it's been a short time that you've been in the office?
So far, it's all going well. It's been 2 weeks. There are lots of things that I'm hoping to do. I mean, as I said, we have a wonderful legacy. Our greatest asset is the staff that we have. We have 258 really wonderful public servants who take their job very seriously, work very, very hard, and are very committed to the mission of the office. Our core mission obviously remains the prosecution of cases, doing that well, doing that effectively. But there are lots of programs that we will move forward. I'm hoping at some point, we have a nonprofit within the office, Middlesex Partnerships for Youth, which is really based on every city and town in our county. We have 54 cities and towns. Their school department joins Middlesex Partnerships for Youth. They pay some pretty nominal fee to belong, in exchange for which they get a sort of whole menu of trainings that are available to their department. We put on, in addition to the trainings that we will come out and do for them, then there are a series of trainings over the course of the year that they can come to. Various topics for various members of their staff. I'm hoping to do a similar one for the elderly and disabled that will really both help families and caregivers as well as seniors and disabled individuals themselves navigate the criminal justice system, and also be sort of joined by some of the assisted living facilities and other things in our county, which will give us an opportunity to be better acquainted with their staff, again, with that goal of stopping something before it happens. So I'd like to be in a lot of those facilities, doing some training programs. We have a good training program now where we go out to senior centers, again, the kind of places where you might find a lot of either senior citizens or disabled individuals to help educate them about their rights. I'd like to more formalize that process. We do a great program with the banks where we go out and speak to senior citizens about safety in terms of their banking needs.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. I love
You
doing
personally do that?
I do that, yep. I love doing that. I've got some great partners at the bank who come out and talk to people about that. So
What
it's
a
great.
great thing to do. So it must feel like an awful lot of responsibility suddenly on your shoulders, but you already had a lot of responsibility as general counsel.
Different. It is different when you realize that you make the final decision. And obviously, it was a very sobering time to start. I was sworn in right after all the events in Boston and Cambridge and Watertown, so it was very sobering. But it's always been a wonderful job. It is even more wonderful a job now.
Well, you're the one to do it, in my mind.
Thank you.
So, yes, it was a very unsettling time.
It was.
Right after the marathon bombings.
Right. Very tragic loss of an officer and the wounding, and fortunately, Officer Donahue was going to survive those injuries, but very, very sobering. Really drove home, I think, both to us, although I hope we appreciate that every day, but also to the public, how dangerous a job law enforcement does and how seriously we have to take the information we have and deal with these situations.
Absolutely. And every day they go to work, they're in danger.
Right. They don't know what's going to happen.
They never know.
Yeah.
So are there any closed cases that you can tell us any stories about?
I can't talk about specific cases, but I've had a great opportunity over the years to prosecute a number of very serious homicide cases. One of the cases that I've mentioned before is a very satisfying case. I prosecuted a murder case about 4 years ago, which the case itself at the time we went to trial was 21 years old. It involved the death of a young woman, the mother of 3 young children, who was found by her 11-year-old daughter when she came home from school. The case we investigated very thoroughly at the time. The case lingered for a long time until we were able to put together enough evidence to prosecute. We did prosecute a co-worker of the mother's, and he was convicted of first-degree murder.
Wow. And that was how many years after?
21 years after.
That's
the
amazing.
incident. Yeah.
How long a trial was that?
About a week and a half. But it was a good result. I had obviously known the children over the course of those 21 years.
Oh, as they grew up.
As they grew up, yeah.
How many murder trials have you prosecuted? Do you know?
I don't know, probably 25,
That's
yeah.
Very impressive. Will you continue to prosecute cases yourself?
I don't know. I'm going to, there's always the concern of why is the district attorney herself prosecuting a particular case. You never want to create that. For instance, the case that I resolved on Monday involving the jewelry store robbery, I had had that case for 2.5 years. It actually would have resolved several weeks before I was appointed, except that one of the attorneys on the other side was on trial.
Oh.
So it ended up being put over. There were 1 or 2 cases like that where I've been involved with the families and the witnesses for a long, long time that I probably will keep. I don't know that I'll take any more cases. As much as I love prosecuting, I don't know that I'll take on any other cases.
I understand, yeah. And how is state funding for your office and any other source of funding right now?
Well, unfortunately, finances are an issue everywhere. You have to view it in that light. All state agencies are receiving less money. The unfortunate reality is with a district attorney's office, people often don't see that as a big need unless you yourself have become the victim of a crime or some family member, and then you realize the importance. I mean, we don't have a big constituency thinking most of the time the DA's office needs more money.
Right.
So, we're hoping to at least maintain the level of funding that we have, and obviously receive whatever additional funding we might be able to gain from the legislature, at least to try to compensate people fairly, to give people some kind of cost of living adjustment, that sort of thing.
And people, I know how hard people work in
People
your
work
office.
incredibly hard.
They work really long hours,
Right.
and they're very dedicated. And I just hope that when it comes time to do the new budget, the legislature will take cognizance of that and give you what you need. And I hope that people will let their state legislators know that you need that money.
Well, and one of the things that's difficult for us, as I said, everybody who comes to our office, in addition to their prosecutorial responsibilities, has some public outreach responsibility, whether it's sitting in one of the school programs or working on some of these outreach efforts that I've talked about. But we have a lot of young attorneys who come to us right out of law school. They're incredibly hard workers. They've got a lot to learn, but they come with, as anyone who has gone to school recently or has children or grandchildren who's gone to school, incredible debt loads from their education.
Yes.
So, the unfortunate place we get to sometimes is, as much as we love them and they love the job, their debt responsibility makes them unable to stay very long or unable to come to the office in the first place. And that's terrible. I hate to have people either have to not take our offer or have to leave because they just can't afford to make their student loan payment, not to live extravagantly, but just to make their student loan payments on the salaries that we're able to pay people. So, and that's just a reality in terms of the cost of education.
And it's always been true that assistant DAs starting out in the DA's office are paid far less
Right.
than a law graduate who goes to a firm.
Right.
It's always been so that it's a sacrifice to work in the DA's office, and you do it because it's so important.
Right, it's public service. And it is a wonderful, wonderful job. And it's hard to put a price on that. And people, I think, who stay in our office know that. So, but then there's just the financial reality of people come out of law school, they want to get married, they want to have children, they want to buy a house, they want to not live with 3 or 4 roommates. So many of our young lawyers work a second job. They work a job nights and weekends to help manage their debt.
I know that.
Their debt.
Yeah, I know that's true. But it's wonderful to have all that young energy in the office
We
also.
have wonderful staff.
So I'm trying to think what else the people of Middlesex County would like to know about their district attorney.
Well, I think it's how much this office means to me, how much doing this work means to me. It is in many respects not a job. It has been my home. I've spent my entire professional career there. It's given me, that length of time has given me some real perspective in terms of the kinds of cases we prosecute, how we prosecute cases, the kind of prevention we want to be doing. So I'm hoping, given this responsibility that the governor's given me, to have an opportunity to exercise that over the next year and a half and grow that office.
Well, we hope you can do that. I think that'll be wonderful.
Thank you.
So you have 2 children.
I do.
One of whom was just about to graduate from high school and one from college.
That's right. That's right. My husband and I have 2 great kids, one of whom is graduating from college in a week and a half and heading off to his dream job teaching at the place he went to school. And I have one that's going to graduate from high school in about 3 weeks, heading off to her dream college. So we're very, very lucky.
That's great. But you're about to have an empty nest.
Yeah, it's never really empty, I don't think.
Oh, you said your son might come back
he
and
might
live
come
at
back.
home. Okay.
Yeah, I hope he comes back.
Well, that
So,
would
yeah,
be nice.
yeah.
You don't want to have a totally empty
No,
nest.
I don't want to have
Okay.
totally that.
So it must be hard to do all that. How do you keep all that organized?
Not so well. I have a wonderful husband, fortunately, and it's a perfect time for me in terms of this job. That both of my kids are a little
Yes.
bit older. I was very fortunate over the years to be able to work a schedule that let me spend a lot of time with my kids, and you just get pretty organized.
So there was a time when you didn't work full-time,
Right,
when your
right.
children were younger.
When my kids were little, yeah, I worked part-time in the office.
So that's great that you were able to work that
I was
out.
very, very fortunate.
How many years do you think
I
that
don't know.
was?
6 maybe.
When your
my
children
kids
were
little,
quite
yeah,
young.
Yeah.
And then you went back to full-time
Yeah.
status.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that there's that flexibility.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate. And, as I would say, part-time employees are the best employees in the world because they're so grateful for that opportunity. They work twice as hard
Yes.
as everybody else. So I was a great thing.
That's wonderful. So you're way more than full-time now.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So tell us a little bit about your work in the elder unit in terms of how you dealt with telephone fraud upon the elderly?
The telephone and the internet have really sort of opened up whole new ways of people getting money or scamming people. And the other reality is that many elders now, and elders, people are always stunned to discover this, the law in Massachusetts makes you an elder once you reach the age of 60, so it's pretty young. But people forget that there are lots of senior citizens who have a lot of resources. Given the real estate bubble, lots of people who are older have homes that they paid a very modest amount of money for that they're now able to sell for lots of money. They're able to mortgage, unfortunately, and many people take advantage of that. So we really, when we go out and speak or talk, the literature that we send out, try to talk to people about just not committing to things over the phone. If you didn't place a phone call, it's probably not a good idea to be committing to any money in that phone call. You can always kind of slow things down and ask people to send you something and make a decision.
And people actually do that. They pick up the phone and it's a complete stranger and...
Yes.
Well, would you be able to come back and do another show with us about that topic?
Sure, I'd be happy
Because
to.
I think that's a very interesting topic that deserves to have a show of its own.
I'd be happy to have
that. Would be wonderful. So today we've been talking with the new District Attorney of Middlesex County, Marian Ryan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to all of you for watching, and we'll see you next time.